Well, I feel honoured to be here. I have to say that I'm not young anymore, but I'm certainly an entrepreneur. I've had the great pleasure of building 5 fantastic companies and selling them, and I've taken 2 right the way through to a stock market listing. And that seems to make me a little bit unusual in the Dubai marketplace. But one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that it's about passion, it's about enthusiasm, and it's about the right people. And I really, really think that in this room we have some of the great people that are going to drive this change. Exactly as you just said. They have to do this now. They have to be a little bit crazy. One of the things that you do if you're crazy is you introduce videos that are going to be a little bit controversial. So here's my starter for 10. Here's a video that's been blocked in the UK, somewhat controversially.
There's a orangutan in my bedroom and I don't know what to do. She plays with all my teddies and keeps borrowing my shoe. She destroys all of my houseplants and she keeps on shouting, ooh. She throws away my chocolate and she howls at my shampoo. There's a orangutan in my bedroom and I don't want her to stay. So I told the naughty orangutan that she had to go away. Orangutan in my bedroom, just before you go, why were you in my bedroom? I really want to know. There's a human in my forest and I don't know what to do. He destroyed all of our trees for your food and your shampoo. There's a human in my forest and I don't know what to do. He took away my mother and I'm scared he'll take me too. There are humans in my forest and I don't know what to do. They're burning it for palm oil. So I thought I'd stay with you. Orangutan in my bedroom, now I do know what to do. I'll fight to save your home and I'll stop you feeling blue. I'll share your story far and wide so others can fight too. Orangutan in my bedroom, I swear it on the stars. The future's not yet written, but I'll make sure it is ours.
Of stores in the UK. The reason I put that up is nothing's ever quite as simple as it seems. My daughter's 17. In fact, I've got 3 daughters, but my eldest daughter used that advert to write to the British Prime Minister, who happens to be our Member of Parliament, and demand that we ban non-sustainable palm from all products in the UK. They got more than 100,000 signatures, and this is now going to be debated in the House of Parliament. You might notice in the UK we have a few other things that are maybe slightly more urgent at the moment, called Brexit. But nevertheless, we're going to debate this in Parliament. And yet, this was banned as an advert because it was political. How is it political to talk about saving orangutans? Well, maybe for the first or last time, this is a quote from Friedrich Engels. Mankind must first of all eat, drink and have shelter and clothing before it can pursue politics, science, art or religion. My question here is, do we really want to ban palm oil because it's going to save orangutans? Because that's what that advertisement said. And yet, as far as I can do with my research capability, 8% of rainforest deforestation is caused by palm oil. That means 92% is caused by something else. And, as far as I could find out, according to the Indonesian Palm Association, 50 million Indonesian people depend on the palm oil industry for their livelihoods. Sorry, that would be this one. Zero hunger. We ban palm oil. European Union is the largest user of palm oil in the world. We ban the import of that into Europe, and 50 million people have a very big problem in a very poor country. Surely that's what the SDGs are supposed to prevent. We're all supposed to be working on making everything better. Well, of course, the challenge is that nothing is simple. And indeed, my view is that the SDGs need prioritizing. I'm really glad that we've distilled it. 17 down into 6 today is fantastic. But I would still want to distill it further. My view, this one, number 13, is probably the only one that actually matters in the short term, because if we don't have a planet that we can live on, I don't really mind what the health of the people are. I don't really mind whether we have responsible consumption, and quality education might help us get there, but it's certainly not going to get zero hunger to get there. People are going to starve. If we keep having the population growth that we've got, we cannot feed everybody. Education will help reduce the population, which might drive zero hunger, but climate action is the one that's going to make the most difference. And so, controversially, again, I will point out that I think the United Nations has made a big mistake. Now, in 1992, many of you can't remember 1992, but we had the Rio Conference, which led to the Kyoto Protocol. The Kyoto Protocol had one main goal: reduce global carbon dioxide and equivalents emissions. This is from the current UNFCCC report. Here we are, 2018. No policy, the current policy. Here we are, so many years later, and the global emissions are going up still. If this was a business 26 years after you declared a strategy that was still increasing when it said it was going to decrease, you would say it was failing. And one of the reasons, and perhaps the prime reason for this, is we've spent those years persuading the general public that it's your problem. That if you somehow take this tin can and you put it in a recycling bin, you're going to save the world. If you recycle your aluminium cans, you're going to save the world. If you buy a bicycle, you're going to save the world. Honestly, I don't think it's making much difference, because I don't think we can get 7.5 billion people to do anything apart from carry on eating, carry on having more children, wanting to have a better future for their kids. But businesses, on the other hand, we can drive. We've spent this time convincing individuals to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, but actually what we should have been doing was driving businesses. This very, very chilling 2014 statement isn't enough. We don't seem to have got the message across. The 2018 statements that we now have 22 years to fundamentally change the way we run our planet still doesn't seem to have sunk into people. You in this room are the ones that can make a difference to actually do something about this. Let me put it a different way. It took 300 million years to create the fossil fuels that are beneath our feet. And it's taken us 140 years to bring half of them up and burn them. 300 million to put it down, 140 to bring it up. We've got to change the way that we do this. We have to recycle more of the stuff that's already been brought up, and we have to find different ways of generating the way that we live our lives. And of course, there are detractors. Whenever you start a business, you've got people telling you you're crazy. People who tell you that it's never going to work. People telling you you're wasting your time. People telling you Goldilocks. If you've ever run into Goldilocks, you're about to. Those of you that have done your pitches today. You'll pitch to somebody and they'll say, oh, you know what, that's too small money, we're not interested in it. You'll pitch to somebody who'll say, you know what, that's too much money, we're not interested in it. And you'll pitch to somebody who'll say, it's the right sort of money, but it's in the wrong area. It's the Goldilocks problem. And you've got people like this trying to stop us. The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make US manufacturing non-competitive. Sadly, he got elected president. Now, I ran into something like this in Australia. I started a biodiesel business in Australia, and 2 years later, the Prime Minister of Australia said climate change is rubbish, and he instantly put a tax on all biofuels. This made it impossible, 38% additional tax on my product. The worst thing, and I would say the worst thing about this as well, is that in Australia and in the States, somewhere around half the population voted for this. That means maybe half the population actually agree with this. And my point is, it doesn't matter. Because businesses, like Unilever, know that this is something we have to do. They know that it makes business sense. They know that those businesses that embrace this change will be more competitive. They will have a better story. They will have more attraction to millennials. They will have a better EBITDA. A chance at the start of this journey, the end of 2006, to sit with the CEO of DHL. And he gave me a challenge. He said, Karl, we've got lots of trucks. And we got lots of aircraft. And we've got some trucks and aircraft. And we've got some more trucks. And we've got some little aircraft. And in fact, we're not quite sure what we've got. So your first job is work out what we've got. So my scope for my first project in trying to save the planet was 520,000 people, 200,000 vehicles, 13,500 buildings, and 423 aircraft. And they had a CSR department that had been working for 20 years on this, and they'd come up with a proposal. I don't think, no matter how fast this gentleman pedals, he's ever going to replace a 737. What we did do is we retired the TriStar. In 2007, we retired a TriStar. Those of you who've got history books, look up what a TriStar was. It should have been gone years before that. But once we'd set this scope, we looked at, okay, what are we going to do? Well, the first thing is to find out, where are we? How big is the carbon footprint of this business? So in our base year of 2006, we went out to every one of those locations and we collected the data. And we found that the carbon footprint of DHL was 33 million tons of CO2 and equivalents per year. It's a big number, but nobody knows what it means. What does it mean? It's the same in that base year as those countries put together, with those countries put together, and with those countries put together. One company had the same carbon footprint as 46 countries put together. The United Nations recognizes about 192 countries, depending on the day of the week. And this is almost a quarter of the countries in the world carbon footprint that is the responsibility of one man, the CEO of Deutsche Post DHL. And I had the great opportunity to sit with him every month and have coffee and discuss, where are we, where do we want to go, and what we're going to do about it. And through that process, we were able to identify opportunities to save carbon footprint and save money, make the business more competitive, and do things in a business way. So by quantifying the carbon footprint, we linked it to salary. We made it part of the bonus scheme of the business. We set everybody in senior management a target for carbon reduction. And as a result of that, we were asked to give our input in 2009 to World Economic Forum. That was fabulous, and my mum was really proud of me. It's really nice to get these pats on the back, but the scary thing was, the organising committee said, Karl, as far as we can see, you are unique in this field. I don't like being unique. It's difficult. You will find this with your businesses. One company can't make a market. It's really good if you've got a competitor. The first time you get a competitor, you'll be a little bit worried about it. Don't worry about it. Just make sure that you're doing the best you can. You've got a superior business model, you're first to market, and you're out there providing excellent service. The competitor, they may try and catch up with you. They may overtake you in some ways, but don't look at them. Look at what you're doing. What we then decided was, let's focus on where the real problem is. And we found, and this isn't my figure, this is from the Carbon Disclosure Project. 10 years ago, Carbon Disclosure Project came up with a great idea. Let's tell investors that they should only invest in companies that have a better carbon footprint, that have a better sustainability goal. Okay, we need some measure of how we're going to work out who's good and who's bad. So they came up with the Carbon Disclosure Project report. 10 years later, they came up with a very interesting statistic. 71% of the global carbon footprint and equivalents has been caused since 1988 by just 100 companies. Sure, we've got a problem for 192 countries, and we've got 7.5 billion people, and we've got to educate them all, and we've got to feed them all, and we've got to do all these great things. 71% of the problem is coming from 100 companies. Sit down with their boards. Tell them they need to come up with a really good plan. And if they don't, beat them up. So, my conclusion from this. I believe climate change has been caused by business decisions. And therefore, a change to business decisions, and not individuals' decisions, is a required effect. Some of you will know that in 2009, we started work with McDonald's. We spent 3 years writing their carbon footprint and sustainability strategy for 37 countries. We spent the next 2 years helping them execute it, and then they internalized the program. Saved them money, saved them time, saved them cost. But what we found in that is there's opportunities in business decisions to make huge change. So for the last 8 years, I'm sure most of you will have been to a McDonald's and most of you will have bought a burger and some fries. And in those 8 years, the carbon footprint of getting that food from the warehouse to the restaurant has become zero. And you didn't have to do anything. The price of the food was the same. Your journey there was the same, your ordering system was the same, your choice was the same, and the taste was the same. You didn't change anything, but the carbon footprint of transportation dropped to zero. The easy way of doing that was we took their waste cooking oil and we converted it into biofuel. We didn't ask them for any money. We sold them the fuel at the same price they were paying. We paid for their cooking oil the same price they were paying. Nobody lost out, nobody had to pay any money, and everybody benefited. You want a model for how to do sustainable entrepreneurship? Find a problem, find a solution, and take away every objection that anybody can have to not adopt your solution. It doesn't matter if it's a service or if it's a product or if it's a combination. Just work out what's the problem, what's the solution, and if you get the two things right, you don't have to pray anymore. So my reality today comes from the founder of LinkedIn. Attempts to solve these global problems will fail because of collective action. It's impossible. Producing large-scale and carbon-free energy is one of those problems, and the solution to this, sorry about the Gordian knot, but if you have a classics education, I guess that comes in everywhere. The sword that cuts the Gordian knot will be deployed by entrepreneurial companies with global scope. That's you guys. We need you. We need you to come up with scalable solutions. Don't work out a new way of cleaning the floor of your mum's house unless you can scale it to everybody's house. Don't come up with little things. Don't come up with little things that solve small problems. Come up with things that are going to solve big problems. And we need you to drive this with your passion. We came up with one way of doing this. I founded a company called Neutral Fuels. 2011, we became the first biofuels facility in the whole of the Middle East. One of the members of the Maktoum family over lunch said to me, "Karl, the family thinks you're either crazy or one of the most courageous guys we know. We like to think the latter, but don't prove us wrong." I've noticed that with them. They often say things like, "Don't be wrong." So anyway, we managed to come up with a solution, no change to engine, no loss of fuel economy, no financial penalty, and zero carbon footprint. Why wouldn't you do it? McDonald's embraced it, no problems, 11 million kilometers they now covered. A couple of the schools have adopted it, no problems with school buses. Del Monte's been using it for their delivery fleet. Brookfield's been using it for cranes and bulldozers and for building things, and we've been providing 20% of it to the Expo 2020 project. So I'm really, really delighted that Dubai's waste is processed in Dubai into Dubai's fuel that is building Expo. This is what we need, is solutions that help big problems. But it's not big enough. So our contribution, and because this is a presentation like that, I have to show you, this is when we hit break even in our business 5 years ago. This is monthly growth. This is 1,000% growth in 5 years. That's what you need. This is the hockey stick that you have to do in your business plans that nobody ever believes. Historically, we did it. But we need to grow more. So for 8 years, we've been converting this waste, and we needed a bigger source of waste. So after years of research, our Arabic-speaking, female-only, UAE-based chemical engineering team, diversity, it's not one of these ones, but we're there. Our ladies pioneered something special. They took a fungus that was being used and grown on the outside of soybeans and managed to extract from it an enzyme. That enzyme is now, I apologize if you have a sensitive constitution, but we're now able to take poo and turn it into biodiesel. There is no shortage in the world of poo. This is great. I don't know how the dickens I'm ever going to get onto primetime television with this, but we've worked out a way of taking stuff that nobody wants to talk about and turn it into stuff that we really don't want you to be using anymore, like fossil fuels, and give you a clean, green alternatives. So, our 5 truths to save the planet. Climate change is complicated, and it's caused by business decisions. Every business needs to completely adopt low-carbon solutions. Those technologies will improve EBITDA. and make businesses more competitive. The technologies are and will be created by innovative entrepreneurs like you and your friends. Deploying those technologies is more important than any single United Nations SDG. We've got to get this all out there. My next suggestion is that nobody for the next 22 years, if that's what the UNFCCC says we've got to do, nobody for the next 22 years should get any money from a venture capital company unless it is targeted towards sustainability. No more money. I don't want an app that tells me how to hail a new helicopter that I haven't invented yet. I don't need that. That's not going to help me save the planet. I don't want to live on a planet that is boiling oceans, no food, polluted water, polluted farmland, but I can hail a helicopter. That is not helpful. So,
global warming is the average increase in the Earth's temperature caused by the reflecting heat of the greenhouse gases.
And that creates a blanket around the Earth.
The heat gets stuck in Earth because of this carbon dioxide.
The world will last forever because God will never let us down. And besides, global warming, we can take care of it. If the polar bears have no place to live, maybe we could try to make room in zoos and stuff.
What can I do for the world?
Me?
What it really needs is for us to realize what we've been doing and to stop it.
I'm really afraid of my children growing up and not being able to see like a blue sky or green grass. If we protect the world will protect us. If I don't do something, who will, you know?
but Steve Jobs said it better. People with passion can change the world for the better. That's you, that's me, that's our kids. And we've got to do it. We don't have a choice. So good luck to all of you in all of your wonderful ideas. Thank you very much for coming today. Thank you for inviting me along. Thank you.